What's up, everybody? Sean here with another live streaming Live to Roll video. And this week we got a whole bunch of guests. We have 5 of us on this week. And I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of the talking this week because I am not as experienced as all my guests here. So I'm going to let them do most of the sharing. I'm just going to ask them some questions, and you guys can ask some questions as well if you have any. So I'm going to just start with a few introductions. I'll just do a quick introduction if you guys don't know already. I'm Sean, C5, C6 quad. I've only been injured for 16 years. I guess I'm a noob here. I got hurt in a snowboarding accident. And let's start with Robert. You want to introduce yourself? Robert Soto. Sorry, we got Bobby and two Roberts.
Yep. Okay, my name's Robert Soto. I'm a T12 incomplete motorcycle racing accident back in 1974. And I'm aging as the years go by. I turned 66, so I've been in a chair post-injury 46 years.
All right, yeah. I thought you were the most experienced, but I think does Brad have you beat?
Yeah. Yeah.
But we'll go in order of how the screens are on the people's screens. So Mickie, you're up next on the
screen.
Okay.
My name is Mickie Fowler. I was injured in 1984 on an ATC, which nobody even knows what they are anymore. And I'm at T1011 incomplete, but it's basically might as well be complete. And yeah, that's all you need to know right now.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely get into more details coming up soon here. Brad, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, my name is Brad. I'm a C5-6 quad, walking quad, incomplete. And I've been in 1977 in a car accident. And I've been a quad, walking quad for 43 years now, and I'm 70 years old.
Okay, cool. And that's one thing we're going to get into too is the difference in like a walking quad, walking para, and non-walking quad and para as well. So Bobby, you want to go ahead and finish this off?
Sure. I'm glad I'm the youngster around these three others. I was hurt 31 years ago, 1989, from a bicycle accident where I was forced from another car into a back of a parked bus, and I'm a C5-6 quadriplegic.
All right. Yeah, you're besides me, you are definitely the youngest or the newest and youngest of the group.
Finally.
Yeah, Bobby's usually with me and Tom on here a couple times, and we call him our old guy. So I'm just kidding, Bob. So yeah, if you guys want to get into it, we did kind of introductions. I don't know if you want to do a little bit more of your story, or if you want to kind of get into some of like what rehab was like back in the 70s and 80s. Like also like how much time you guys spent, and just some of the things that are different, because I know a lot of you guys are peer mentors and we do a lot of work with newer rehabs and stuff, and you see what people are going through now. So just kind of in comparison, like anything you can compare and advise for people. I don't know, Robert, you want to start maybe?
Sure. When I was injured in 1974, I was at a racetrack, and there was a community hospital. Once I got hurt, I was taken to. They didn't take me to the hospital by ambulance, though. They put me in the back of my van, and I had a couple friends drive me there. So I wasn't in a stretcher or anything. They put me on a sleeping bag to get me in the back of my van. So that was part of the start of the journey there. So I went to the community hospital there, and they had no clue because this was the days of pre-trauma centers, and no one knew anything about a spinal cord injury and all that. So I went through all the commotion there, and them trying to help me, but they didn't know what they were doing. They're trying to take my racing leathers off, and my body's swelling, and nothing was being cut. I started cutting. So anyway, I was there, and then transferred. Once they kind of got me somewhat stabilized, I was transferred to a hospital in Riverside Memorial, where I was in there for ICU for just a day or so, and then I was transferred to a South Bay hospital where I lived for my laminectomy and just a week or so of some range of motion therapy, and then I was transferred to Rancho Los Amigos, where I did the rest of the 5-6 months there bed rest to let myself still heal from the laminectomy. Once that was up, I started, was in a body jacket, did all the therapy, in-house therapy there, because back in those days, you did all your therapy was inpatient, and especially with me I had some, my right leg was pretty active, and I was somewhat ambulatory through therapy. They really put a lot of focus on that. So I get around primarily with a long leg brace on my left and a right ankle brace, and I still use crutches. Once the braces and crutches are gone, though, I can't stand up or use a chair or anything like that. So the ambulatory piece was, I was like 19 when I got hurt, so I still had all the energy, strength, and stamina to really put into it what it takes to get back on your feet on something like that. And once I was released from the hospital, you don't go back for therapy. I just went back for clinic appointments, but I spent a lot of time and focus on being on my feet, and used the chair when I was at home. But for the most part, when I went places, I kind of forced myself to be on crutches and the braces for my mobility, and never got away from the chair. But I was at least 90% of my mobility was crutches and braces.
All right. Yeah, that's a lot different for at least like times of rehab and all that and stuff. At least spending in the hospital, as far as now. But that's really cool that you're able to do everything with the braces and stuff. And that's one of the things I wanted you to talk about is, as time has gone, we'll get into that more a little bit later here.
Okay.
But
No worries.
The troubles, the struggles of still using everything like that.
Yeah.
So we'll stick with both our paras at first here. Mickie, do you want to share a little bit of your story and some of your rehab story, and just a little more detail on some of that stuff?
Yeah, I was in a place known for recreational activities, Glamis, in way southern California, and what happened apparently, because I didn't have any experience on it, it was my first day, and I was just going too fast down one of these sand dunes, and I lost control, and I didn't know how to stop, so I just threw myself off basically because I was panicking, and then when I hit the ground, I hit it so hard that I broke my back, and then right away something was wrong, but my husband thought I just broke my leg. I said, no, I can't even feel my legs. So in the meantime, they called the Marine helicopter over to take me to Yuma. Talk about a small hospital. So there I was, just the initial stuff. And then from there, I was taken over to Good Samaritan in Phoenix. I was there for 10 days on a roto bed and had my operation and everything. Then I was flown by a friend to Cascalina, Brackett, and from there, ambulance to Cascalina. And I was there. The shock for me was being in a room with 5 men. Because I was this 30-year-old young mom, and I thought, what am I doing? That was a shock. But, they became friends, and I was there for 3 months. And that's where I learned how to do everything, learned how to get dressed and use a wheelchair and go to the bathroom, But, yeah, so Cascalina was where I spent 3 months, and there were great therapists there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's still a great hospital, still a great therapist, I'm sure. Same with Rancho. All right, Brad, you want to go ahead for you're our
Sure.
walking quad, so.
Yeah, I was 27 years old, and I was T-boned in a car accident. Of course, it was my fault because I was going a little too fast. And I got punched out of the car and broke my neck when I hit the ditch. And I was in a coma for about 7 days. And then when I came around, I was at where Mickie was at Good Samaritan Hospital in Phoenix.
Oh.
Yeah, and I did 3 months of rehab there. And I had, they put me in a halo brace with the little jacket and everything and the screws in my head, like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
And they had a real good rehab program there where they had, they took us to ASU football games, to the malls, places like that, bowling and stuff like that to get us out of the hospital. But, they worked me out. They wanted to give me physical therapy once a day. And I said, no, that's not enough. I got to go twice a day at least. And ended up getting out of there after 3 months. and just kind of humping along ever since.
All right. Probably doing more than just humping along, but
Yeah.
so you're doing pretty well, I think, Brad. All right, Bobby, you want to close us out for our other quad here, our youngster quad?
Junior.
Well, I was the youngster too when I got hurt. I was 17 when I got hurt. I was, as I said in a couple of the other broadcasts, I was an All-American athlete, and just one day after school, I used to get out of school early because I kind of did my athletics as my work experience, and because I was getting paid for racing, so I was able to leave school at 12 o'clock. And it was such a beautiful day on March, the end of March 27th, and I was supposed to only go to the gym. I was not supposed to get on a bike or go swimming. My coach had made my workout for the day, and that was to go to the gym. But when it's an 85-degree weather day in Southern California in March, I was like, I got to get out on the bike. And got on my bike and started an easy ride. And that's all I told myself. I was going to do 12 miles. It was all bike path, and it was a 4-mile loop. And I did the first 3 loops. And I said to myself, man, it's too gorgeous to go, to the gym now. Let me do one more lap. And I remember going, if I go straight, I go to the gym. If I turn right, I'm going to do one more lap around this block. And I remember just kind of shaking, going, oh, okay, I'm going to go right. And I turned right, and about another quarter of a mile, that's where my accident happened. Mm. I slammed head first. When I woke up at the scene, the first thing I remember was in the ambulance. And I'll never forget, I said to the guy, the ambulance driver or paramedic, can you take off my shoes? My feet are killing me. And he kind of looked down and he goes, yeah, they're off already. And I went, oh no, I really effed up. I effed up. And he's like, we're going to take you to the hospital. And I said, you need to take me to Kaiser. And they're like, oh, you're not going to Kaiser. I'm like, no. My mom said if I ever got in an accident, I have to go to Kaiser. We have Kaiser insurance. He's like, no, we're going way past Kaiser. We're going to a trauma center, Northridge Hospital. And that's where we went. And next thing I know, I woke up, emergency room or in a room. Who knows what it was. If I had already gone to a room or ICU, who knows. And the first doctor I remember seeing just said, you know what, buddy? Tough break, but looks like you're never going to walk again. I was like, whoa, what is this old guy? I mean, he was an older doctor with no bedside manner, so I was just like, oh, geez. So that's where I got to spend 6 months in rehab at Northridge Hospital, except I did have to go to Kaiser for 2 weeks. They made a deal that I had to do my ICU 2 weeks at Kaiser. So after 4 days at Northridge after my accident, I went to Kaiser, and then I went back to Northridge for 6 months. And complete quad and started all over again. I kind of felt like a baby, trying to eat, trying to sit up, just trying to do the basic things that I think we all went through at the beginning. And, luckily back then, I think I was the last of the breed that got the 6 months of rehab. And I think it started changing shortly after that. I think it went down to 5 months, 4 months, 3 months. And then now, what is it for a quadriplegic like myself? Maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. Lately, I think it's like 6 weeks nowadays. So that's definitely a lot different than the 6 months. I even 16 years ago got like 2.5 months total time, of rehab. So it's just, definitely getting worse and worse. And that's why stuff like this is helpful for people, because people don't get the same rehab, they used to in the hospitals. So if we can help out on, the back end, which is, what Triumph does a lot of, and a lot of us try to do as well to help supplement a little bit extra to help out who we can. So yeah, I was going to get into a little bit of just what it meant to be, like we talked about, we mentioned the walking para, walking quad. So Robert is a walking para, Brad is a walking quad, which means they both have some ambulatory function and they can move and are able to use some sort of braces, crutches to get around at least somewhat functionally. But you guys both use chairs now all the time. Do you want to talk about a little bit of the struggles of now, just the aging process with, trying to walk and now using your chair as more of a tool? I don't know who wants to start. Robert, if you want to start.
Okay. Yeah, I pretty much used the chair, like I was saying, 90% of the time. I worked for the past, 40 plus years. I retired just a few years ago. And so, everywhere I went, I had crutches. I didn't even take the chair with me. I relied on my crutches and braces and things like that. So as I got older and started working more and more, my body was kind of getting beat up because the thing was with the crutches, my legs weren't like, there's some low injuries out there that have their legs strong enough to where they stand up without any crutches or anything like that. My situation was my right leg, it functions all that, but I didn't use it to stand up. I used my arms and shoulders. So I had forearm crutches, and most of the time you're hyperextending one or both shoulders. So over the years, that did take its toll, in addition to using the chair here and there and stuff like that. So there was always the strain on my shoulders and arms. And as I started getting older, I started doing a little more damage to my shoulders, my parent rotators, rupturing biceps and things like that. And I never had any surgeries. So I kind of, just maybe took it easy for a little bit, but I was still getting back up on the crutches. So as the years went on, I started using the chair. Once in a while, when I would tweak my shoulder and arm, I would get in the chair and use it for a day of work or something like that. But what I found out was how much more functional I was using a chair. Like in my office, I'd be in my office. I'd have to go out to the other office to get a piece of paper out of a file. I'd have to get up on the crutches, walk to the other office, find a chair, sit down, get the files, pick up that piece of paper, get back up on the crutches, go to my office. Then when I started using the chair in the later years, it was a lot quicker. I was a lot more functional. So they took its toll after that, getting up and down. And I did it to as long as I could. And then finally, when I completely tore my rotator cuffs and should have had surgery, I didn't go for it. Then I'm tearing my left rotator. And what it was is just, not really taking care of my shoulders when I was younger. When you're younger, you're immortal, you're resilient, or whatever you want to call it. But I would have a little soreness in here, but it didn't stop me. So me not listening to my body and not listening to what was going on and paying attention to what's going on with the aches and pains, because you had aches and pains every day. There was always you just bite the bullet and go for it. So it took its toll on me, and as positive as the walking piece for me was, because I really, especially in the the early stages, I didn't come across any barriers. If there were stairs, I went up them. It was slow and cautious and holding on to a rail and all that, but it wasn't. There was no stopping where I needed to get to. So, but the problem was in the long term because of the damage that occurred with my shoulders and my arms. So that's kind of what I'm paying the price now as I get older, especially with the aging piece coming into play. So with me aging in terms of the not having the strength that I've always had, and then with addition to the damage to the arms and shoulders, those have crossed paths, and my transfers are a little weak nowadays. I still use I stand up to get into my truck, so I still stand every day and walk every day, a few steps here and there, a little bit of walking around the house and things like that. So that's still a given, but it's not as easy as it used to be to stand up. It was no problem. And I'm a lot more cautious, especially like when it's raining outside or the, wet surface or something like that. In my head, it's slippery. And that just causes me a little stress just to get in and out of my truck. Getting out is not so bad, but getting up on the crutch, I'm actually putting all my weight to stand up on the crutch. So, it's different positioning on my arms, and they got to stay close to my body. There's no putting my arm out to the side. It has to be tucked in my body. But the aging piece is also caused me to be real cautious, and that can also create a little bit of a problem, because if you're too cautious, that's kind of when you overreact or something like that. So it's been a journey, and like I said, I don't know if I would change anything. I just know that I would pay a lot more attention to my body and take care of my arms and shoulders, and for preservation. I should have kept them more in shape. When there was a little ache or pain, I should have stayed off it, but I didn't. I tried to think I was going to work through it.
That's definitely good advice for all of us, because I know me too. Like I got hurt at 21, and during my 20s, like I have aches, pains, whatever, and I just push through and work through and whatever. But it is something to be mindful of, and now you really have the experience of like a lifetime of it and know the damages it's caused your body. So hopefully people can see this and maybe take a little advice from somebody who has been through it. So Brad, do you want to share any of your experiences with some of the walking stuff? Because I know you're the same. You can walk with some braces and the crutches and stuff, but don't do it as much anymore.
Yeah, my similar experience as Robert. When I got out of the hospital, I was walking with 2 canes, and then through stubbornness, I downloaded to 1 cane, and I walked for quite a few years with just 1 cane. And I have an AFO brace on my left leg, and my right leg was probably 80% strength, and so I used my arms and stuff quite a bit walking with the 1 cane. Well, after a number of years of that, about 15, 20 years, I noticed my left knee was getting real bad, and I went to the doctor, and she said, "You're not walking right. You've got to walk with 2 canes, so you're walking more upright instead of your cane. Your knee's not used to the impact that you're putting on it by walking crooked." And so I did that until I retired a number of years ago, and then over the last few years, I resolved myself to walking with 2 canes. And now I'm using 2 canes to walk around outside when I work out in the yard and stuff. But primarily, if I'm going in and out of a restaurant or just around the inside of the house, I use a walker. And then I also use a wheelchair like Robert for, like if I want to go to Target and get around real fast, I pop a wheelchair out of my trunk and jump in it. And, I don't have enough time left in life to be walking slow. I want to get there now. And so I use that to get me back and forth real quick. But, and I can feel it in my shoulders with the walker and stuff, but I look at the wheelchair as keeping in shape. And
yeah, that's good. That's another thing I want to ask you guys about too, is keeping in shape now, things you're doing, but we'll talk about that after a little bit more. But sorry, go ahead. You can continue if you had more to tell.
But that's okay. Go ahead and have Mickie go.
Well, I was going to mention when I was inpatient, because I said I'm incomplete technically, because they found trace.
Yeah.
And that means basically when I was laying on the mat on my side and they put a skateboard under my leg, I was able to move it a few inches. So I'm like, oh no, this is exciting. That's what they were thinking actually. But I thought, well, they know what they're doing. So they ordered braces for me and everything. And I got up with braces with the walker and with the parallel bars. And then I'm thinking, this is so, for me, it was so non-functional because I've got 2 little kids at home. What am I going to do with these braces and a walker if they're running around? Because I had one that was 3.5, one that was 18 months. And I'm thinking, this is not going to work when I get home.
Yeah.
So I gave up. I didn't even really try very hard. Maybe I should have, but I just knew it wasn't going to work when I got home. So I just thought, you know what? I'll be in a chair. It'll be fine. And it has. It's been fine.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing, I think, for people to factor in is functionality of everything,
definitely.
Sometimes it's not functional for you. But people want so badly in their head to be walking again that they really overdo themselves trying to get back to that walking thing, and sometimes it's not the best thing for them, you know. And then Bobby, what do you have to mention? Because I'm actually interested, because I'm more like you, I think, as far as not having very much, you know, ambulatory function. I have no real. I mean, I said I was incomplete, I guess, but that's because I have like a tingling sensation in my heel. I can't move anything. But yeah, so Bobby, what do you have on this?
Well,
do you suggest standing and stuff?
I mean,
or?
kind of what Mickie was saying, and you know, after I did my 6 months of rehab, I got blessed to go to a place called the Walker Institute, and it was ran by a doctor named Dr. Walker. And the Walker Institute, not necessarily walking, but she did do some studies, early on studies, that later on I heard she got in trouble for and lost her license or something like that. I believe so. And when I was there for one focus, and that was to be independent. I said, let me be independent before I start walking again. Because there wasn't the tingling in the heel. There wasn't a movement. Like, I mean, one time they said, oh, we're going to ask you, is your toe up or down or neutral? Up, down, neutral. So every time they were like, okay, ready, go. And they said, wow, you got a 90%. And I'm like, yeah, that does me no good here. First, let's get that with the triceps and my bowel and bladder, and then we got something to talk about. Yeah. So I didn't there. And then they ordered me, like they did with you, Mickie. They wanted me to start doing a gait program, muscle memory. They were like one of the first to talk about muscle memory. Got to keep those legs moving. And when I got the braces, standing up, remind you, at that time I was 6'3", going, whoa, no balance, no nothing. And every time I leaned to one side, my hip flexors would bring my foot up and it would go forward. And they're like, look what you're doing. I said, please, this is not walking me, guys. This is not the start. And let's go back to the mat because I want to work on my transfers. And they're like, all right. So I just didn't have that focus.
No, that's good. I think that's honestly really important for some people to hear. It's, because you can prioritize things when you first get injured. It's walking sometimes is your main priority, but really independence should be, living your life, getting back to a functional, happy, good life. And so that might not be walking. And it might be just, it's all kind of what you personally have in your life and your goals and things. But sometimes focusing on the wrong thing can be, detrimental to your mental health, I feel.
John, that's what I was going to tell you. I also had hip flexors that had trace movement. And when they said, oh, get braces, those things cost like $10,000 or some ridiculous amount. And I'm thinking, what a waste. I was like, Bobby, let's just get back to, I want to be independent. I want to get home, be independent, be a mom again. I'm not going to be walking like I used to. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I think part of their agenda is, we got to get you up and doing the very best you can. Well, to me, the best I can was being in a chair.
And what it is just realizing what the functionality is that you need. I mean, there's a mix between knowing, like for me, it was just a focus on the walking, and once I got into it and was able to do it, I had stamina, I was fine, and I knew when to use the chair. But it's just that what was going on in my life at that time with the working and all that, it was the crutches. It was nothing that I said, oh yeah, I'm going to walk again and all that. It was just that was my functionality at the time. And it just started changing as I got older and getting more, getting injuries and things like that. So it's for anybody, it's what's important and what, it's all about for any of us. It doesn't matter what level or anything like that. It's all about the independence. That's what's important, So you still have that sense of yourself and you're living by yourself or living alone or whatever, and you can still function, or you get roommates or whatever. It's just that independence that is important. Whether you're in a wheelchair, whether you're walking or not, whether you're managing your life, that's what it's all about.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same way. So that's really important, I think, for a lot of people to hear. So that's great information, guys. One of the other things I wanted to ask you guys about is like the modern technology aspect of stuff now, like how much has different things, technology helped and come along as far as, I know even just chair technology's probably come a bit of a ways since the later 70s, but yeah, just any other input you guys have on benefit stuff you guys are using now that you weren't then that have benefited you, or things you wished you had, stuff, anything like that.
Well, Robert and I can both agree we love our smart drives.
I tell you, I'm all about the technology. I of all my years, the first time I went to a Disabilities Expo was like 2-3 years ago, and I was amazed with everything that they have. I just love hearing about stuff, medical technology, just the disability and world in terms of abilities and what they develop out there. The smart drive is one of the best things. Which is a power assist for manual chair, as well as like my wheelchair, just the ultra lightweights, the titaniums and the carbon fiber chairs, which helps for me lifting my chair in and out of my truck or just propelling myself, things like that. But it's just endless with what they're doing out there. Unfortunately, the prices are still high for that technology, but if you can do it through insurance or however other means, through grants, whatever. It's out there, and you go to one of those expos. Anybody out there that hasn't been to any of the expos, you got to go to one to see. It's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to mention the insurance part of the smart drives and like even the emotion wheels I use. A lot of that stuff is starting to be covered by insurances now. It used to not be. My first emotions were not, but now they are getting covered. So something for people to check into for sure.
And I think that's the big technology now, for quads, it might not be the smart drive where it's a little more difficult to handle, but there is the emotion wheels where all you do is just push your rims one time and boom, you're off and running, and that's nice. And if us old guys can, I'm not old like Robtsotojr there. I'm ready for those devices. But I'm right around the corner for what Sean's using with the emotions. I'm like, why am I struggling so much? But it's sometimes when we get in our old ways, I can't go to a solid back. I can't, use the new improved cushions out there. It's like we sometimes get comfortable with our old station wagon, and it's hard to upgrade in a way. So
we get into the mentality, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because it's hard. It's hard to make that change, especially when you're in that comfort zone with a piece of equipment or apparatus that you rely on, and then you go to something different, and all of a sudden the feel is different a little bit, and it's not an easy thing. Just like for me, I had some new braces. I've been using these ones that I've had for a while, and I got these new ones, and I'm struggling with them. So I'm going back and forth getting adjustments. But even that alone, because now you got the braces are made out of different materials. They're lighter, they're plastic. When I first had my braces, they were the metal braces that attached to the heel, and you had to adjust them on the adjustments on the ankle. You can only wear one pair of shoes. You can never take the shoes off so you had to find pants that were wide enough to pull over the shoe to go over the brace, and before they came out with anything plastic for the inserts inside the shoe. So it's a constant evolution, but it's for the good, and it's in the right direction.
It's kind of like when we get our new wheelchair. It's like it feels good the first day, but for the next 3 weeks, you're like, oh, this chair is awful. I hate it. Your body can't get used to it because you've been sitting in the same. For myself, I've been in the same wheelchair for 15 years. I just take it over to the Colors wheelchair and I just get it painted. Make it look new again, but I don't want a new frame, I want it, even when they do that, it feels like a new chair when I get it back.
Well, because you found it works for you. I mean, that's the whole thing, other than the lightweight, because like for me, I went from chair that weighed 40 pounds to a chair that weighs 18 pounds now, out of carbon fiber. And that's been a full change for me,
Yeah.
for the better.
Yeah, I was going to mention the chair thing. Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
Well, I was going to do another flip side of, instead of chair, technology with quadriplegics. Now, with the higher quadriplegics, the advanced quads, with virtual stuff for video games and also true tracking with their eyeballs to select on the mouse, and then even drag and dictate. I know Sean uses it, I use it, and, just dictating into our iPhone, it's just so much easier instead of like trying to hit the keyboard. I mean, drag and dictate. When I remember I went to college and I took a class on drag and dictate. It was 1.0, and you had to spell every word out. But once you started spelling, it would give you a drop of 10, and then you would say, "Oh, there's the word I'm about to spell." Then you would have to say, "Select number 8," and it was one word at a time. And now you're just like, "Hello, Frank, I'm writing you today to let you know, blah, blah, blah." And boom, it's right there. So technology with computers have really helped us a lot too.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Also the smart assistant stuff like the Google Home or the Alexa and stuff like that, like to where I can have my lights turned on and off, all just by a little. I bought one of those like probably 6 months ago, and I can tell it to turn my lights on. I can tell it to turn the heater on. I can tell it to turn the fan on. So I basically have everything regulated. Or if even I'm in bed, I can just yell at my little speaker to do whatever I need for me. So that's that's even fairly modern, and for quads it's a huge thing for.
Well, it's a better quality of life, for functionality. Again,
for anybody in a chair, shutting the lights off in bed is pain like you either got to get in bed, you either had to get in bed before, or shutting the lights off, or what I used to do was just use the TV. Yeah, so.
Or you get in bed and you forget to turn around, and then you got to get the heck out of the bed to go back and do it.
Do another transfer and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, do we have also just any advice for longevity? Is one other thing I wanted to cover, like things that like Robert, I know, maybe like realizing shoulder things or issues a little earlier, anything like that. Just advice for longevity for people in a chair, people that got hurt in their 20s or whatever and are going to be living the next 30, 40 plus years in a chair. Anything helpful. So it would be.
Sure. Yeah. Well, what I would say is, unfortunately I didn't practice what I'm going to preach, but from the beginning, when I was younger, I did keep myself in better shape and watch what I ate. And then as years went by, you get comfortable with where you're at now. And so I think the big piece is just eating healthy and maintaining a decent weight, because you rely on that for your mobility in terms of, transfers and all that, eating healthy, getting proper exercise and, stuff that I should have done. But, I was just in a whole different mindset. I just was young and resilient. So a lot of that, and just paying attention. I wish I would have just done it more so, because there's a lot of years where I really forced myself up in the morning to keep moving forward and didn't listen to my body. And that is a big, important piece. Your body's going to tell you, especially when you get in tune with it and know your body, it's going to tell you if there's something wrong, or you should be doing this, or, thinking about this and that. So those are big pieces, and as I know for a new injury, it's a depressing piece sometimes, but everything does get better. So it's important to take care of yourself. It's not like you burn the candle at both ends, because you're just gonna it's not gonna be the life you want. But you know what? It'll surprise you, because once you start getting yourself on track, getting back into your life, finding your functionalities, finding out what you need, your direction, life goes on, and all of a sudden, before you know it, it's flying by. And it's important to take care of yourself. I wish I would have took better care of myself. That's hindsight. I'm armchair quarterbacking right now, but it's diet is a lot, because you have to keep that weight down, because that's what's going to keep you mobile, and it's going to make it keep it easier. So I think that's what I'd have to pass on to everybody, and just keep that positive attitude. Be positive. You're going to have your down days and all that, just like everybody does, but you can't let that take over, and just keep moving forward. Keep that positive attitude.
Nice. Yeah, that's good advice for anybody, I think, for sure. Anybody else? Mickie, you have...
I was thinking a couple things that I wish I would have done at the beginning is wish I would have learned to sleep on my stomach. Because I can't do it now. My butt sticks up like a big hill. Your muscles get contracted. And then I also have foot drop because I didn't really take good care. I was so focused on raising my family, I didn't take care of me the way I should have. I gained more weight than I should have. That's another thing, like Robert said, keep the weight off, because transfers are much easier. Transferring into your chair, transferring into I use a shower chair, transferring, into my vehicle. It's just so much easier when you have the weight off.
Yes.
And of course, we haven't talked about taking care of our skin, making sure that we look at our skin, that it's not having pressure. And they learned that in the hospital, but you get home and you start living life, and you don't think about that. You've got to be so diligent. You didn't think about before.
And try not to be so stubborn when we start recognizing signs. I was stubborn to, I have a colostomy, but it took 5 years of pain and suffering and draining myself to death, trying to wake up, do bowel program, do the shower, get dressed, and go to work all by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I just,
I could not.
Now it takes, 2 minutes for the bowel, because it's all contained. Clean it up, get in the shower, go. I'm not drained, so I wish I would have listened to my body a little bit sooner than when it was talking, and start heading to the doctor's appointment after, I would say, and I don't know if you guys feel the same, but really everything started changing after 25 years. Yeah. All of a sudden I'm just like, whoa. Shoulders going down. Yeah. Back is starting to hurt a little more. It's just funny. We just, you just start after listening just a little bit more and eating right and slowing down. It is important to slow down. I wish there's always an I wish, and I don't wish I didn't play as much sports as I did. Maybe I wish, if I could wish anything, is if I didn't go out so hard. I went out hard, so maybe it could have not done so much, but.
I'm kind of the same boat. I go to the doctor once a year just for a checkup and make sure everything's right. But I wish I hadn't been so stubborn and walked with 2 canes a little bit earlier in my life, instead of just trying to be macho and run on one and going out dancing with 1 cane and playing golf and all that stuff, and been a little bit more intuitive as to what my legs were doing, what my knees were doing, and the impact that I was putting on my body. I always went to the gym and stuff like that and ate right, but sometimes I think I should have just cooled my heels a little bit and not run as hard. Yeah. Trying to keep up with the ABs, the able-bodied people, and
I think what it is you just get back in your life, and after a certain amount of time, there's no more comparing yourself when you're able-bodied. It's just you're moving forward. And like for me, I think too, one of the mistakes I did make in my journey is that I got disconnected from the disability community. So I didn't really know what was going on out there, and I just kind of went on my own, and I had issues with pressure sores and things like that. And when obviously I go, I can manage it myself. But, I learned real quick that those things take off, and they have a mind of their own if you don't take care of them.
Right.
But I just think, you get caught up in life, and especially when you're younger. You got hurt in your mid-20s, and we got hurt when I was younger, in my 19 and things like that. Once you get back on life and you've made the process of accepting, that you are disabled or whatever, you roll. And and then I only learned all this stuff for me. This has been in the last few years for me. I started having problems maybe 10 years ago, and I wish I just would have handled things differently when I was younger. But that's why I want to try to help others to say, hey, be ready and just take care of yourself. And that's the thing. But you get caught up in life. It's hard to start separating those. It's because life's life. And just
Right.
there's a lot of stuff we can do, and it's always hindsight when you always know what to do. It's that hindsight.
But I don't. I think it goes for both ways of disabled life or able-bodied life. I think we all do it.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we have another excuse to put on top of it, but
you're right.
I think we do it no matter if we have a disability or not.
Exactly.
Well, and we're all kind of in the same boat. Where everybody, when you're in your 20s, you're so active, and then all of a sudden your accident happens,
little by little.
and you go, wait a minute, I can't let this thing define me. I've got to move on. I got to get going again. And just finding that spirit to get back out there and start running again.
That's what we try to tell the newly injured at Cascalina in our support group. We try to tell them, you can still have a great life. You just have to do things a little bit differently.
Right.
Yeah, most definitely. Somebody in our chat box said, stubborn is a common theme with us, and that is most definitely, So, Paul was right on in our chat, He was just like, we are stubborn. But I think most of us are stubborn, disabled or not.
Yeah. I actually think that being stubborn after your disability or injury is somewhat beneficial on some levels, because it pushes you to just push yourself a little bit, and maybe too much sometimes. Like you guys are saying, you got to know your limits, learn your body. But I know that was one of the things that got me as independent as I am, is just my stubbornness and unwillingness to give up and not I can do this. I just
and you need to learn patience. You need to learn patience.
Yes.
Patience.
That helps a lot. If you can be patient, because it's hard when you're first trying to get things together and you're doing the things differently and the frustrations on that. But if you exercise a patience, and of course I only know that from now. I'm not back then. I wasn't patient.
No patience.
Yeah, I was like, come on, what's up with this? And now it's only now that I'm older and a little more mellow nowadays. That I understand.
Sometimes I don't think I have patience until my wife's like, man, you are so patient when you're trying to figure out, something with the TV, hooking something up. And I'm like, 2 hours later, I'm like, oh, I got it. And she's like, how'd you spend 2 hours thinking? I'm like, I don't know. She's like, you're patient. I'm like, me patient?
Yeah.
No way.
Patience and determination, man. That's what it is.
Throw that phone through the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes the patience gets to that point. You just gotta throw it.
When you run out of them.
Yeah.
But that's all been great advice, you guys. I think that's really helpful for people. And for me, honestly, because I'm starting to I'm getting into my later 30s, about to be 40, and I'm starting to I've only been 16 years in the chair, so according to Bobby, I got maybe 8 or 9 good ones left till I hit that 25 mark. So,
then it's all doom and gloom, Sean. Sorry.
All right.
No way, Sean. Luckily, you pace yourself and you stay active, and I think you're a really great role model.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. Live to
I
roll.
agree.
Oh, thank you guys. Appreciate that. My mom just messaged in that I am so stubborn. So. Just
most definitely no.
But no, this has been really good, guys. And so we have. Let me go back on the questions too. We have gotten a few questions. I just kind of was saving them more till this later part here, because didn't want to interrupt too much of the conversation. But let's see here. Let me roll back. Yeah, I wish I could highlight these earlier on. But if you guys have anything to mention
Well,
right now,
there's
you
one.
go ahead.
Somebody
Yeah,
was asking you, Robert, about your racing. You got hurt racing, correct? And
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and he said
1080.
somebody he mentioned that he raced at, I think it was Laguna Seca. Yes,
Laguna Seca. Yeah, Montreal. And then
Yeah.
he got hurt in the pool though. Instead of pool. But he was just sharing some of his racing stories.
My racing was dirt track, half mile and short track and TT and stuff like that back in the 70s. In fact, you can refer to my era. Mostly there's a film out on any Sunday back in those days. That's when, I wasn't ever really intentioned to be a professional racer or anything. It was my hobby, my sport that I grew up doing. Wasn't so much into baseball or anything like that. I raced motorcycles, and that was what I wanted to do. But when I got hurt, and I was already going to college as well, so I was still kind of doing that. But I wasn't anywhere, going to be a professional or anything like that. It was something that I did.
Sean, I noticed you asked about standing frames. I didn't use one for years, except maybe a couple times in the hospital. And then I was able to get one from St. Jude's. They were giving them away. No, not giving them away. They had a couple used ones that they were offering to anybody that could use one. I said, I really should, after all these years, start using one. And I'm able to get myself on and off, fortunately, by myself. And that's something I should really recommend, too, because being old, osteoporosis sets in, and it's not good at all, because I've broken my leg 3 times, I think, different places, and who knows if that would have happened if I was starting to use a standing frame earlier. So I really recommend, if they can, newly injured people use a standing frame. It's very important to get your stand up, because it makes your bones stronger, and you don't think about that at the time.
Yeah.
Did you do Mickie? Did you do a standing program beforehand, just to make sure everything was going to be okay?
Oh, I took the DEXA test. Yeah, and
bone density test, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was
Oh, I think Mickie froze. Uh-oh. I think Mickey's camera froze for a second. But we can just for real quick, we'll just keep oh, there she goes. She's coming back, I think. We'll give it a second. But so I actually have a question then. Bobby, do you stand at all? Because I'm actually in the boat where I did some standing early on in my injury. Let me see if I can try. Oh, there we go. Okay, so yeah, Mickey's back. Okay, so I did some standing early on in my injury, but I have not in years, and I've been warned that I shouldn't just try to get back into a standing frame and get up. So, Bobby, do you recommend, are you standing still? Do you think I should get a bone density test and go stand, or?
If you are gonna, I would recommend going and making sure you get a bone density test and getting into a standing frame program. I'm in your boat. The last time I got on my 2 feet was 25 years ago, maybe longer, 27. For me, getting up and being stuck in a standing frame, and it just didn't fit my lifestyle. And do I wish I had one now? Yeah, I do. But for you and I, it's it's transferring into a good standing frame, and my transfers are not as clean as yours. And I mean, it's just like, okay, got to transfer it in, make sure it's got to get the feet. It's just another thing to do. And I never did it.
Well, don't you guys have a problem with blood pressure? Sometimes blood pressure might spike.
Blood pressure drops. Yeah. Even just getting in my chair, my blood pressure drops.
Yeah, that would be an issue for me.
I'd be afraid to break something right away. And I don't know. It's so healthy to do it. It's so good for the body. I know we have a good friend, Anthony Arifashe, that always preaches about it, that it's so good for your bowel, your bladder. The body was meant to stand. And I just got away from it, and I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've unfortunately did the same. So,
if you get an opportunity to do sports, like you guys have done sports, that's so important. I wasn't into sports necessarily. I mean, I did water ski and aerobics, but when they had the disco aerobics,
That's good.
a long time ago. But I remember them asking me in the hospital, "Oh, you can play wheelchair basketball." I said, "I never played basketball before. Why would I want to now?" So try to find things that still fit your lifestyle. Like I said, I love to water ski. So that when the Land Meet Sea thing goes on, which unfortunately won't happen this year, that was like an answer to prayer. That was so much fun. I love water sports.
Well, you know what's good too about the sports programs is that it gives new injuries a chance to show that they can still do things. They can still be competitive and still be active. Like for me, I started out the wheelchair sports at the beginning, and it was fun and everything. But I moved into another direction where I went into the working world and stuff like that. But I had a great time when I was playing the wheelchair basketball, wheelchair tennis, and wheelchair football and things like that, because it does give you that confidence. It helps you realize, hey, you can do what you want to do. It's up to you. It's up to you and what you want to do.
I played wheelchair basketball.
Another thing I wanted to mention, just about the importance of sports and recreation. So, Brad, if you have anything to add, go for it.
Love to hear. After I got out of the hospital and stuff, a couple of years later, a couple of my buddies said, because I had played golf since I was like 7 or 8 years old, and a couple of buddies of mine, they said, "Let's go. We're going to load your clubs up, and we're going to go out and play." And I played up until probably about 2 years ago was the last time I played my round of golf, because my balance has gotten worse. But my game was probably better than what I was when I was before my accident.
Yeah.
But the thing that I bought about a year ago, I think it was September, October, when Triumph Foundation had that sports thing out in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. I got on one of those tricycles,
Hand
cycle.
I got on the one that had like a wheelchair seat, but you pedal it with your hands. And that's my new drug of life now. I do that a couple times a day, and it builds the core and stuff. And try to find something that builds your heart rate up, whatever it is, just get your heart rate going. And but like I say, it's just something that I love anymore. But you got to have some sports, something to keep you active.
Where do you do it, Brad?
Well, right now I go up Haven Avenue, which is all uphill from baseline.
It is.
And I get to that bicycle trail, and I do about 3 or 4 miles on there.
Wow.
And then come back down to the house, and I do a lot of uphill training because I'm stuck. I don't want to get stuck someplace.
That's impressive.
But it's a lot of fun. It's like a drug.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's good, man. That's what, for me, the hand cycle, my issue is the uphill, because I don't have that tricep to really get that. I think you have a little bit more, but it's a struggle getting those things climbing inclines.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of just choose to just use my own wheelchair as my exercise, right now.
Sure.
Instead of getting into a hand cycle, I just get out to the beach, get on the trail, and then just start pushing, put on some good gloves. I put on a weight belt around so it can hold my balance a little bit more, so I can go a little bit harder and I don't have to worry about falling forward. And I just find I can get 3 to 6 miles in with no problem. And it just, instead of going, the gym is important. Do not get me wrong on that. But I just noticed using weights and stuff like that it didn't sit well with the shoulders and my body itself. I just felt like more something natural. And, that's what I went to instead of these hard impact sports that I did so long, like snow skiing, water skiing, quad rugby. Now it's like, let's take it easy now.
You want to build up that core, your lungs and stuff. You get yourself breathing hard and get that heart rate up a little bit.
Exactly, the cardio. We want to get the cardio up.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's awesome. That's great stuff. Yeah, and for me, everybody knows, I'm same rugby still. I haven't quite got out of it yet. I would love to do more hand cycling. I'd like to get a hand cycle at some point. And then once we can start doing Triumph hand cycle events again, I'll be doing those at least till I can get my own. And then the water skiing, like Mickie, I love the water. I love being out there too. That's so much fun. But it is a little more impactful. Water skiing hurts my neck after a day of being out there, like bouncing on the wake. But yeah, this has been really great information for everybody, guys. And anything else you guys want to add or put in that we missed? I'm trying to see if we had any other questions. I don't think we had any other like specific questions.
Yeah, I do have one other thing I'd like to add, and Mickie did bring a little light to it. Just taking care of your skin, the pressure sores and things like that, because that's an issue. And I know there's a few of us out there that been in the chair 30 plus years and hadn't had any issues, but it's that's what's going to put you down for a while when you get to different stages. There's 4 stages in it, so become familiar with your skin, do those skin inspections, and don't take any little redness or anything like that for granted, because it's important to keep an eye on stuff.
Yes, definitely. One of the most important things we have to deal with, I think, is the skin care outside of our bowel and bladder.
Yeah.
that controls the day.
Yeah, it sets the pace.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any advice on that, we can kind of, anything you guys want to add or input is fine at this point. We kind of covered a lot of the stuff with aging. So any input you guys have or advice you guys have for newly injured people, or, people that have been doing it for a while.
Well, I think to always set goals and make them reasonable. And then once you reach that goal, whether it's emotional or psychological or physical, once you reach that goal, then move the goalpost a little further and keep going just a little bit at a time.
That's great advice.
And Sean, there might be some people that are newly injured that are maybe 20 thinking, oh my gosh, those people are so old. I don't want to be old in a wheelchair. Because you're thinking, my life is over now. No, it's not. It's just beginning. And we are all examples of how good a quality our life can be, even though we're old. Yep. And who knows, we all always heard, oh, yeah, they're going to have a cure in 5 years. Well, it's been a lot of 5 years of my life. It hasn't happened. So you don't sit there waiting for a cure. You just get on with your life and do the best you can with what you have and be thankful. There's all this technology, all this great equipment, and the Abilities Expo is virtual this weekend. So who knows what's out for you.
Yep. I'm happy. I'm okay. I'm it's been a journey, but I'm happy. It's been good.
Things have been good.
Yeah. So I would
keep positive.
And I would say, we say sometimes listen, maybe don't take it too hard, but no, you know what? I wouldn't have been any different than if I didn't. I think I'd just be more miserable if I just took it easy and took it slow and be careful with my shoulders, like the PT said, like, oh, don't overdo it. Why don't you use a power chair? You got to worry about your shoulders. Yeah, they're a little bit sore at the end of the day, and I know one day I'll have a problem where it's every morning and night and every morning, noon, and night, where it's going to be like, oh man. But you know what? I wouldn't have changed anything. I'm so glad I went and did everything hard as for snow skiing and quad rugby and all the activities I did, and getting up and going to work and then playing all night and going dancing, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change it at all.
You're right.
That's good to hear.
Got to listen to the body though. Just that's it. I don't think I would have changed anything, but like I said, the hindsight stuff. Looking back now, but that's easy. Watch what I eat and do a little more exercise and like that. But in the life, you just go for it, man. You got to have fun. You got to enjoy.
Yeah, that is definitely important. And try to enjoy life. Whatever your interests are, your record, like whatever brings you that joy, find some way to bring that into your life. Like for me, I was a very an adrenaline junkie. I was very active. Like always, wanted to be active. So I thought, life as a quadriplegic would be probably pretty miserable, but I found ways to stay active. I've found ways to get that little release, even if it's not the same as it was before, like even just the water skiing and things like that. Like you just get, there's things you can find. There's lots of outlets for. Just gotta be open-minded and find them. Get out there.
more so nowadays. There's a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Most definitely. So we had one other last quick question, just about dealing with fingernails and toenails. I personally, my toenails are not pretty, and I'm only 16 years in the chair, so I don't think I have great advice for that. I try to keep them trimmed. I have a podiatrist come out like every 6 months and kind of check them out. And give me a little cleanup because they start to curl in and stuff on mine. And then I have a bad habit of biting my fingernails. So I don't know if you guys
I do exactly what you do. I bite my fingernails and my toenails. Just find somebody good that's going to be able to cut them. And it is important. They are a pain in the butt. You can get ingrown toenails, and the older we get, the worse they become. They get really hard to cut into, so you got to be careful and find a good podiatrist is the key. Go every 4 to 6 months, making sure that you're not going to have a problem. Especially, I know a lot of people with disabilities, when they don't feel their feet, they get a lot of ingrown toenails. And be careful when you're opening up that door with your feet.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of that. And I'm sure
we all do, Sean.
Spasms come from little toenail discomfort, I'm sure, because I do have some that don't look great, and I have a lot of spasms. I'm sure some might be from that. I don't really know for sure, but do you guys? I don't know if you guys walking maybe have a little less issues with that, Robert and Brad, but
no, I do my own.
Okay.
I just don't chew them off. I don't chew my toenails, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be gross.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's, I think, about it for our questions and stuff. So unless we do have any last kind of closing comments for you guys want to throw in here, I think that was a pretty good advice. A lot of good information for people, I feel. People newly injured and people like me even that are, 16 years in, but still have a ways to go in this journey on my spinal cord injury. So, I plan to have a lot more years of life. So, this is good advice to hear. And
still a lot of good years left.
Exactly. So
that's,
I think, an important thing is for people is just to not give up on life. And that's why I want to do this. You guys see people that have lived a long life, that have happy, healthy lives, and are doing this and been doing it a long time. So hopefully people get some, positive motivation and stuff from this. All right, guys. Well, I guess I'm going to end the live stream real quick then, guys. And I'm going to get a fist bump for everybody. It was off camera, but it's all right.
All right.
Live to roll, everybody. And let's just finish
all right.
this.
Thanks for allowing me to speak my mind a little bit here and share what I have.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, Sean. If anybody wants to reach out, have my contact information. Sometimes females have questions that they don't want to ask in public.
If you guys want, I can put your email in the description if you don't mind, Mickie. I can do that.
Not at all.
Okay, so I will do that. I'll get your email. I'll put it in the description. So if you guys want to check back, that information will be there if you do want to email her, especially any of the females that, didn't want to have questions here publicly. I definitely understand that. But all right, everybody, thanks for watching. And
all right, thank you very much.
You bet.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.